welcome, LibbaLoops.
Ooh, hello, everybody. Thank you so much for having me.
And I'm gonna turn off the reverbs.
Yeah, I'm going to turn off my robot voice. Hi, everyone. I'm LibbaLoops, although I get called LibbaLoops quite a lot.
Oh my God, I still messed
accept it as well, you know?
I still messed it up.
No, it's all good. It's all good. It's Mick.
Miguel.
Miguel? Yes.
Miguelito.
Miguelito.
Miguelon.
Miguelon. Yes. Well, hello, everyone. I'm coming at you from the interdimensional Loopy Doopy Lounge, and I'm so happy to be on the stream. Thanks for inviting me.
Loopy Doopy. That's an interesting lounge. Why Loopy Doopy? Huh? What's the deal with Loopy Doopy? I'm starting off with the hard questions here. I'm gonna hold you to the pavement here.
Yeah, I mean, I value being silly and playful and getting loopy doopy. So it's okay to come in, be yourself, get silly, because I think it takes some bravery to be silly, in my opinion. And kids have a lot of that bravery, but we as adults, we kind of lose it over time. And so the Loopy Doopy Lounge is a place where we can be silly. We do a lot of improv music here. And I'm sure we'll be doing some of that today. But that's why it's Loopy Doopy. And as you can see, there's lots of wonderful friends here that we've met over the I guess the Loopy Doopy Lounge has been around for about 2 years now.
Wow,
yeah.
2 years. Wow, look at us go. 2 years.
Yeah, that's right.
we're pandemic babiys, aren't we?
Yes, we are. Yes.
Chris Stallings music. How dare you? Moving Dutchman. Thank you so much for that sub, my friend. 15 months. How dare you, sir? Come in here with that 15-month sub. Love you, baby. Thank you so much. Cliff Stalling music. Commie Cliff, welcome in. I appreciate you being here. You son of a gun, you. It's good to see you, my friend. Okay. I see how it is. Wait, you said that being silly is brave. Could you elaborate on that? What do you mean about being brave? Be silly.
Yeah, I think that trying to be silly and playful, you got to have some vulnerability about yourself. I think that adults, we typically don't get silly unless we're around our closest friends, or we can kind of let down our guard. I do a lot of improv music, but I also do a lot of improv comedy, and that's something that has been really central to improv comedy is being able to just get up there and fail gracefully and to just have fun with it and not worry about how it's going to go. Know that, there's people working with you and supporting you. And yeah, just that vulnerability, I think, is what I mean when it comes to being silly and having fun as an adult, especially. I work with kids a lot, so I've done theater for youth pretty much ever since I myself was a youth, and so it's for that to translate into the Loopy Doopy Lounge and hang out with whoever wants to be at the Loopy Doopy Lounge and create silly songs together. It's a lot of fun. I've really valued it, especially over the pandemic.
Yeah, definitely. I definitely can concur with that. The pandemic definitely. It was such a weird time to be a human or even an adult. I couldn't imagine what it was like to be a child, but it was such a relief to have something like Twitch. It's very interesting. Like right as the pandemic was heating up, I was in a improv class myself. So,
oh, really?
Yes.
What'd you think?
Oh, I loved it. It was.
I'm so glad. Yeah.
It was the most terrifying thing. Like I can honestly say, the first class was like one of the most terrifying things, and then the first because I took a class, and then I don't know how it works for you, but at the end of the class or at the end of the semester, I don't know, end of the thing, you do a performance on where everybody has to go do it in front of their peers and other people,
like a little graduation class.
Right. And that was terrified. And
I'm sure.
I've been a musician, most of my life, and I've played in cool places and like cool festivals, been in front of lots and lots of people, but. And I've had horrible things go wrong on stage, but nothing is nothing is harsher than when you're in the middle, the lights are on, and you're in the middle of, some whatever the premise is, and you're either, I don't know, like I remember trying to be funny, but and like the room was like crickets, and it was just like, what you do, what's interesting about improv is like the more you try to do stuff, it feels like the more it comes off as, not funny.
Meditated or planned. Yeah, totally.
Hmm.
Yeah. I think that's like kind of a good takeaway is that with improv, trying to be funny is not really the goal. Obviously, with improv comedy, you want to entertain people in a comedic way and all that, but as far as like going up there and just being funny, like a lot of people don't realize what principles and tools are in the tool belt, so to speak, of the improv players. So I think that what I've learned is certainly understanding that you've got someone else on that stage to create that scene, to create that story. So listening to your scene partner and really finding what's called, the game of the scene. Like, what's that one thing, the first
Right.
most interesting thing that happens in a scene, and really just embellish on that.
Right.
And the first time the audience laughs, you've got something there,
Right.
and to just like go deep into that joke,
Yeah. Yeah. Milk it for what it's worth. Whatever you can.
yeah. And know that you're not alone up there.
Yeah, absolutely. And it was like the moment I started to let go of like that feeling of like having to be like, oh, yeah, like it was like it changed. And then I started was as the night progressed, I could feel myself relaxing, sort of letting go, sort of, giving yourself to that moment. And I think that's what's so beautiful about it. And it's so, I equate it almost to like a meditation. And I
Hmm.
love meditation. I'm into meditation. And, like you really do have to sort of let go and like tap into a higher plane. You know what I mean? It's which I know sounds complicated, but it really is sort of like you let go and you surrender to the moment. And then once you find that thing, the game of the sketch or whatever you want to call it, you are actually in something now, and you're like onto something, and then that's when you can start using your tools and your skills and your life experiences. That's when it starts really flowing. And I just really loved it. And what I noticed was that everything from doing improv, because I was on my second, it was my second class, so I was in
Yeah.
improv 2 in this place in Ann Arbor, Michigan. And it was I loved it. It was so cool because like it was affecting everything I was doing. It like even the podcast it elevated the podcast, being able to sort of find that nugget, find that interesting thing that this person is
Mhm.
trying to talk about.
Oh yeah.
Did
Yeah.
you notice that at all too? Did it elevate any of your other performative skills, or I mean even when you're conversations, just everyday interaction?
Oh, absolutely. I grew up with theater, and my mom was actually, and still is actually, a drama teacher. So it's theater itself has been with me ever since I was a kid. But improv, I started doing improv in college, and then more recently, and I definitely noticed that I was able to let go of more insecurities, again, because you're practicing that over and
Mm-hmm.
over. And like you said, over time, those insecurities are just going to fade away, especially as you get more confident in yourself and realize that, like, especially you got to have a good group of players, though. I mean, it really matters, like, who the ensemble is. And
Yeah.
luckily, I've been a part of some really great improv groups. And, so, what I've been able to observe, especially, is with teaching kids improv, and especially the elementary school kids before they're too cool for it, like the middle schoolers and the high
Yeah.
schoolers. But like third through fifth grade, golden age for improv because they're willing to pretend still, and they're willing to be silly and they're excited to create these stories together. And that's been really cool to see some of the shyest kids just come out of their shell and realize that, oh yeah, they're creative, they can that everyone is in the game together, and that, like, hey, if they if they fail on stage or feel like, oh, that didn't go so great, it doesn't matter, it's over, and then you do another one,
Right.
and it's getting used to that feeling. I think as a kid especially, like, you're gonna mess up in life, and sometimes you trip, and you can just keep going, or pretend that you were actually running and make someone laugh or something like that. But so yeah, I've really valued it, and I especially with improv music. Improv music is something that's the newest form of improv for me. So over the last I guess over the last 3 years or so, I've been looping and bringing, I guess, the foundations of improv that I've learned along the way to music, and still learning. So I mean, even if you're not going to pursue like theater performance or anything, like, taking an improv class is definitely worth it, just to gain some life skills. It's definitely worth it.
Definitely. I mean, like, just getting over being in front of people, getting over, because a lot of people have this, a lot of people are like that's the scariest thing they can think of,
Oh
is
yeah,
is
yeah.
getting in front of people and looking dumb, or thinking that people are gonna make, if you can, again, surrender yourself to the moment, and surrender yourself to, these tools, and what you learn, and realize that it is sort of a practice. Like, you
Right.
can actually get better at it, even if you think you're like, I'm not funny, I don't know, like, no matter how much self-doubt you have, it's something you can learn and build on, and it obliterates all those, like you said, insecurities that you might have of getting in front of people and looking dumb, because that's what you're gonna do. And
Right, exactly. Like, that's basically half of life, so you
right.
get used to it. So
Right. Well, yeah, exactly. I feel like a big part of life, which people want to avoid, is failing, and
Mhm.
like, like, failing is how you learn. It's a child touches a hot pan. Well, you
Right.
failed at not hurting or burning yourself, didn't you? And then, guess what? I'm not gonna go and touch that hot pan anymore,
Right.
because I failed, and now I got a boo boo. So
Right.
I got a boo boo
Luckily
on my
with improv,
fingy.
you fail in improv, and then you know that there's always another scene where you
Right.
can redeem yourself if you feel like you have to. But we're always our worst enemy, and we're
Yeah.
always the most critical of ourselves. So,
Yeah.
like, most of the time, I just, if I'm feeling any kind of anxiety about performing or anything, I have a couple of methods. One, I just realize that nothing in the universe matters, and that one day I will be nothing, and none of this will be as if it ever even happened. So that's fine. That's comforting for me. So
Yeah.
like, I mean, one day the galaxies are gonna collide. I mean, and no one will remember that stupid
No.
night of improv or something.
Yes. No, absolutely. Like, we are finite beings on a finite planet, in a finite galaxy, in a finite universe, which I
It's
don't
good
know
to
if it's
remember that, you know?
I don't know if the universe is finite. That's the other. I guess I don't know that part.
Oh, I don't have the expertise to know even a particle of, of physics. Like,
Big relief. Yeah, I'm glad you're relieved, moving Dutchman. That should just remove all the anxiety out of your life.
big relief.
By the way, Libba, is that right?
Libba.
God, I'm so sorry. It's
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 all good. I'm not
it's
offended or anything. I'm going to correct you, but I'm not,
maybe
I'm
you
not
should be
offended.
offended with a Libba.
Maybe 10 more times and I'll crank it up to being offended.
It's like, come on, bro. Like, what's going on here? What are you really?
Well, you probably, like, it's not your fault. Like, maybe I should put some kind of how to say my name in my profile or something.
Yeah, yeah, right next to your. Oh, never mind. I don't know. See, there it goes. I failed at improv right there, everybody. You've seen it right here. I was, yeah. No, no. I actually started in improv music. Like my first band that went out and started playing was we'd sort of pick a key and then we would just go for 45 minutes with nothing planned, and
Nice,
that was
yeah.
the night. That was it. That's where
That
we're
sounds
going.
great. I mean, that's like one of the things I love about looping is
Mm,
that it is something that's just over and over and over, but you get to build upon it each
right.
time. And like I'm the kind of person that if my brain is fixated on a song, I will listen to it over and over and
Yeah.
over again in my
Yeah.
car or wherever I am. So looping really worked out for the way my brain works. But yeah, that kind of jam session is super fun.
Yeah. So you said that you started sort of improving on music. What was it? Have you been in have you been in band settings? Have you done bands
No, not
or?
really. I grew up with musical theater and theater in general. I was in band, so I've definitely always loved being a part of an ensemble
Mhm.
and wish I could do that in some way. I mean, part of what we do at the Loopy Doopy Lounge is collaborate and inspire the music together and decide what instruments we're going to use. So that's a part that I really love. But as far as being in like an actual band, nope. Just me. I was really inspired by Reggie Watts.
Oh, he's so awesome.
Yes, yes, and like I didn't realize what I didn't know anything about looping until I saw Reggie Watts perform, and that got
Wow.
me really interested. And I started out with this one-track looper called a Ditto mic looper, which,
Yeah.
if you're interested in looping, like that's a great way to start.
Yeah.
Super easy to use, and so I just started with that, and then my my next update, I guess, was this Voice Live play that
allows me to put effects on my voice.
which is super fun.
Is that TC Helicon?
Yeah.
Okay.
TC Helicon Voice Live Play. I really love it. A lot of people use it for like adding harmony to their vocals.
Nice.
I mostly just want to sound like a robot or a cyborg or whatever, so that's what I do. I
Oh,
love auto tune. I've just I love the way it sounds. I've always been like attracted to that sound
yeah.
ever since I heard like Cher and T
Cher,
Pain like
yeah.
growing up. You know.
Hey, Aquafunk.
Aquafunkalistic booty wap. Oh my goodness.
Hey, welcome in. Welcome in. Fellow robots. Yeah. Booty wop. That's amazing. Hold on. How do you say it?
Aquafunkalistic booty wap. That's what I say.
Aquafunkalistic booty wap. What's
Wap
up?
wap. We've made many. I think we've made at least definitely more than one aquafunkalistic booty wap loop in the Loopy Doopy Lounge. Good to see you, friend.
Yeah, thank you for being here. Welcome in. Welcome in. Amazing name, by the way. That's
right?
that's an incredible name. I
Yes.
just that's something I'm gonna be like rapping to myself later on when I'm trying to sleep. Aquafunkalistic
Yeah.
booty wap. What?
Exactly. Yeah.
So what'd you play in band in school?
Oh yeah. I played bass clarinet, and
Oh,
if I had $6,000 to $12,000 to buy a fancy bass clarinet, I so would. I love the really beautiful resonant
hmm.
tone of the bass clarinet. It has such a soul to it.
Yeah.
And I love playing that in band. And then I played, the regular like soprano clarinet in college. But like many 18-year-olds, I was just like, I don't know what I want to do. So I pursued music because like, oh, I can get a scholarship for this and did
Ooh.
that. But then switched to theater, and I'm glad that I had both worlds because I'd always been interested in musical theater in particular, and that's been I think a big foundation to my improv music, despite most of my music having very electronic sounds. But now I've forgotten the question.
Oh, that's okay. I just asked you what you played
Oh yeah,
in high
clarinet,
school.
bass clarinet.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, and I've taken piano lessons recently, which has been cool.
Oh,
So I've taken piano lessons for about a little over a year now. So I'm getting there. Sort of like intermediate. But that's one of the cool things about looping is that you don't have to be like a master of any one instrument, and you can create more complex melodies and chord progressions and all that slowly and at your own pace. So it's pretty neat.
Clarinet gang. He ended up on bassoon. Hey,
Yeah. Oh, bassoon. One of my best friends in band played the bassoon. Yeah, bassoon's a good one.
I love them both. They're both just amazing. I absolutely there's an album that was completely all inspiring to me that just sort of changed my life. It was just such a seminal album. It's Miles Davis, Bitches Brew, and there's just they have a bass clarinet in that thing, and it just is so like it's
I'm gonna
life
write that
changing.
down.
It's life changing. I mean, if you're into like the jazz fusion
Oh
and
yeah.
I mean Miles Davis was just such a pioneer in jazz and beyond, you know, like he's just amazing
I need to listen to more jazz. Like I've been introduced to somewhat recently was Charles Mingus. That was a really
incredible.
cool genre of jazz that I hadn't heard before. I mean, is it called like hard bop or some kind of bop? But
I'm not like the biggest
yeah,
jazz like
me neither. But what I
aficionado,
heard,
but
I liked. You know, it was different. It was different. It felt like more as if it was more improvised, and I bet a lot of it probably was, but. That's a jazz has fascinated me, and just the connection between the musicians in a jazz ensemble, especially if they're improvising. It's super cool. Yeah, I so admire musicians who are really dedicated to their craft and their instrument.
yeah. Me
Yeah.
too. Absolutely. Oh, Moving Dutchman. Thanks for contributing to the community goal there, buddy. Yeah, hard bop, you're right. He was hard
Oh,
bop,
sweet.
bebop, avant-garde,
Avant-garde. Yeah.
avant-garde jazz,
Yeah.
post bop.
Post bop. Post bop. Doop dap bop. Post bop.
Woo!
Bop bop.
Oh yeah, the Hanson. There you go.
Yeah, there you go.
No, yeah, Charles Mingus is incredible, incredible bass player, and I love Charles Mingus, but I like that you were sort of equating that like theater sort of contributed to your improv. Uh, did you graduate from college with a theater degree? Did you end up
Yeah, I
finishing?
did. So yeah, I graduated with a theater degree, and in I guess in amazing circumstances, I actually used my theater degree for my job. So I work at a museum, and I absolutely love it, and that's a huge part of my life is history and researching history. And working at the museum, but I've been able to portray characters and write monologues for historic characters and use my my knowledge of theater in that way. It's pretty fun that with the Loopy Doopy Lounge, very futuristic, interdimensional, and then the other part of my life is in the past, and I'm absolutely terrible with present moment pop culture kind of things like ask me about the history of XYZ and I can probably tell you a little something, but what's going on now, I don't know. I listen to the news, but
Well, that's a dreary.
yeah, right, I know. That's why we have the Loopy Doopy Lounge and
Yeah.
places like this.
Yeah, for sure. I love that. I love that you dive into history like that. I love history too. I love reading books on just most of the books I read are about history or like about wartime and stuff. But that
Yeah.
seems to be what history focuses on a lot because those are shifts of power and such. But yeah, is there a particular time in history that you absolutely love that you love to like look at?
I I think the time that I really the one topic that I was really fascinated with was the Lewis and Clark expedition most
Oh,
recently.
yeah.
And if you're not familiar with that, so once upon a time, Thomas Jefferson is like, hey, I'm going to buy all this land. And France is like, yeah, okay, we're going to sell it to you for really cheap. And now we got to go explore the land. So Thomas Jefferson is like, hey, Lewis and Clark, go miles and miles and miles to the big ocean out there and meet all the Native Americans along the way, make peaceful relationships with them. And just the incredible journey that they had, and And something that I think that, I think especially now, like a lot of people look at America's past and they don't see much to glorify or much to feel proud of, unfortunately, because there really is so much to be proud of and to really appreciate and not take for granted. And I think the Lewis and Clark expedition is a great example of going out and seeking diplomacy, and at least with those two men, and especially let's not forget Sacagawea, or you may know her as Sacagawea.
Sacagawea. Oh, you say it the right way,
Yes,
aren't
yes. I mean, just an incredible story of a 16-year-old girl who is against her will married to a French fur trader. She has a baby along this treacherous journey, but she is invaluable because eventually she reaches the lands from where she used to live. She was taken away from her family at a young age during a warring tribe had taken her away. Oh. And she's reunited with her brother along this journey. She's able to recognize the land and help guide Lewis and Clark. She's able to find foods in the most desperate of times when, I mean, they're so desperate that they're at the point where they're eating dog and maybe even their own horses sometimes because they're just so desperate. But, her being along the way was just invaluable. So if I was going to say, like, if you haven't ever been interested in history and you're curious about American history, I think there's a lot that you can explore in the Lewis and Clark journey, and just it feels like an epic tale, an epic movie almost. I wish there was some really cool bioflick about the Lewis and Clark journey sometime, but I mean, I've researched like a whole lot of different stuff. So everything from like the history of blue jeans to this week was Zora Neale Hurston, the author of Their Eyes Were Watching God.
Yeah, she's amazing.
So I never expected to be an armchair historian, so to speak, someone who doesn't have a degree but really is invested in the research and everything. But I'm so glad that I did discover that passion, because it's so much fun to go through the primary sources and like old newspapers and documents and things like that, and it feels like time traveling. So I think that's something that's always going to be fascinating to me, and I wish that more people had an interest in history, and that our history education was I don't know, I guess just more approachable, I guess, to children. And so that's my TED talk. Yeah. About history.
Well, no, I agree. I agree with you a lot. And, like it stuck out to me how, you mentioned that, a lot of people just focus on the atrocities, committed by people who are long dead a long time ago, but like and then just hold it as representation of now, I mean, which is not, it's not the same. This is definitely a different place from what it was, even 50, 60 years ago.
Right, yeah.
So I do appreciate that you have that sort of outlook, and especially if you do look into history, that does give you that perspective. I mean, I love that time period as well. I know Lewis and Clark is before, like, is that before like Texas and all that stuff, like Texas Rangers?
That's gonna be around like turn of the 1800s, so
okay.
1804 to 1806. Yeah, so like early days of the West.
Right, right.
Become the West. Yeah.
No, I love that stuff. I've read this book. I read a couple books by this author. Oh my God, I can never remember books names, but it was about the Comanches and how
cool.
How they were, they were basically steppe people. They're up in the steppes, and like they literally didn't evolve, past just like being these crazy warriors. I'm not trying to call them crazy, but to people who were sophisticated or settling in Texas, they were like wild animals. But they had such an amazing their fighting style, and their how they were able to shoot bows like with such accuracy, bow and arrows at such accuracy. it actually took like the Texas Rangers to learn some of the stylings from them to actually go and defeat them. And of course the 6-shooter pistol, which is,
Right.
that sort of leveled the playing ground a little bit, but still it was still like, it's still just fascinating. But the Zora, what's her
Zora
name?
Neale Hurston.
Thank you.
Yeah.
What were you studying about her? What did you find about her?
Yeah. So, the reason that I do all of this research is because at the museum where I work, we do a lot of different programs especially for our members and for the public. And one of the topics coming up this summer is Zora Neale Hurston, and she was fascinating because she was someone who was around during what's known as the Harlem Renaissance. This is in the 1920s and in the 30s. But she was very different from her peers of black artists because she actually grew up in an all-black community that was even like council members, the mayor, and this is in the 1900s, or early 1900s. So this is unusual, and this is in Florida, called Eatonville, Florida. It was actually the first incorporated city that was all black residents. And so she, her interactions with white people or any kind of she didn't really experience the racism that a lot of other black people had experienced being in communities where they were white controlled. So to grow up and be able to not face that really had an influence on her. But in Eatonville, this was still like a working class community where they had a very rich culture of folklore and music, and she was always deeply interested in that. So her role as an author was greatly influenced by her career as an actual anthropologist. She was studied, and she was a scholar of folklore, of African American folklore. So thanks to Zora Neale Hurston, we have documentation of how phonetically the African American folklore was spoken. So we have the documentation of the dialect of many regions, not just Eatonton in Florida, but she went to Haiti, Jamaica, Louisiana. She studied a religion called hoodoo, not voodoo, but hoodoo. Which I don't know much about, other than it does have African roots, and is very, very spiritual and has many rituals to it. So thanks to her, we have this large body of work about early African American culture that many of her peers, they really wanted to distance themselves from the stereotype of the poor African American working on a farm and singing songs and being happy-go-lucky to just do this, this sort of minstrel character, if you're familiar with minstrel shows of the 19th century and before. And so for her, she really wanted to place the people that she grew up in, her culture, and all of these beautiful and the beautiful language, especially because so much of it was poetic and full of simile and metaphor, and all of these folk tales that are specifically of this culture, of this African American culture in the Southeast, and put it on a pedestal. Really say that this is deserving to be called art. Just like the new jazz that's coming out. And a lot of people didn't like the fact that her characters were working class people, because they wanted people like W.E.B. Du Bois, which you might be familiar with, and the other artist of the Harlem Renaissance. They really wanted to say, look at us. We are, in fact, they called themselves the new Negro, to say, we're done with that, that past. We want to show you that we're educated, we're sophisticated, we're artists, which is still very important. But, I think with our modern eyes, we can see how Zora Neale Hurston would feel too, if it's like, my father, my mother, my siblings, all of us grew up with this folklore, these songs that are so important to who we are. That this deserves to be academically studied and seen for as important as it is. So I really, she was just a big personality too. She could really make friends with anyone. and her views on being Black were also very interesting. If you have a time, I would recommend reading her essay, What It Feels to Be Colored Me. And she kind of goes into her thoughts on how she's very proud of her being Black, and that she, like we were saying before, she doesn't feel any kind of shame from being from little Eatonville, Florida, and singing these songs she grew up with, and being what some people call this like stereotype. It was like, no, this is me, this is my culture, it's my family, and I'm proud of that. So fascinating woman. I'm really excited to do some more research, and there's some mystery to her life as well, which is always fun to try and see what you can do to fill in the gaps.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'll leave you with that.
Wait, hold on. What's the mystery? Now I gotta know.
There's a span of her life where she may or may not have been married 3 separate times for like brief moments. She traveled with a white theater group as the maid to one of the lead singers, a white woman, and we don't know much about that time in her life, but we can connect the dots because after that experience, she starts to write plays as well, and becomes interested in theater. So there's these little gaps in her life that later in her works, you can try to build some context. And of course, as a good objective historian, you don't want to decide that, oh, this is what happened, but it's just fun to gather all of the information and think about the what ifs with her life and what inspired her and influenced her. And so yeah, there's a bit of mystery about her in her really in the times where she's really becoming an adult, I guess. So it's interesting that we don't know a ton about her, but we can kind of piece together these little clues.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, this stuff is so fascinating to me because I know Reina is a huge fan of no, I can never remember names.
Sorry, Neil Hurston.
Thank you.
Hurston,
Hurston.
Oh, hey, Reina. Yeah. I would highly recommend at least reading her short stories if you're not if you're someone who's just like, I can't sit down and read a book, read a short story, or read some of her anthropological studies because they're written in a very approachable way. So I would really highly recommend checking her out and reading, because it may take a little bit of time to get used to the phonetic dialect, but once you do get used to it, it really does just bring these characters to life, and it's educational at the same time because you get to hear in your head how someone would have spoken, and just the language is super important when you're relaying emotions and the culture and everything. So it's a really vital part of it.
Absolutely. I've read through some of the books. Like Reina brought up Barracoon, which is a wonderful book that she explained to me that I didn't read. But she was like, here, you should try reading this. And just the way that she writes, the phonetics, you're right. You really do have to sort of, and what's up, Skittle Farts? Welcome in. You got a 5-minute break? Well, thank you for spending it with us. We're talking about
Neil Hurston.
Neil Hurston.
I'm just gonna preemptively say it for you each time.
Thank you. As you could,
and my name.
Thank you. As you could see, I'm terrible with names, and my memory is shot. And anyways, it's it really is something you kind of got to get used to, that you kind of got to train your brain to. And like Reina was telling me, she was saying that it was eventually your brain just starts putting it together. And it's always like I don't know. I took a few sociology classes where we're doing deep studies on society, and there's new, you got to learn a whole new language basically to understand some of these academic writings. So it's it's basically that you kind of have to just learn how to learn that stuff. And I always find that stuff fascinating, arduous. And so I tend to stick to more just easy to read books, I don't know, I wish I could remember that stupid book. Gosh, I wish I could remember. What was it called? It was like something about a moon, blood moon.
I think I might know what you're talking about. It sounds familiar. While you're
Empire of the Summer Moon. There you go.
Empire of the Summer Moon.
Yeah,
I
if
will
you
push
were-
back on that a little bit though and say that I've been surprised that I've found history books that are not so academic. You know, there are history books that are for other academics, and then there are history
Right.
books for the mainstream, and you can totally find them. And I know you know this, but just wanted to put that out there for.
Oh yeah, yeah. No, like Empire, like Empire of the Summer Moon is a
Oh
very
yeah,
easy
yeah.
read, and it's and it's enthralling. It's it's thrilling. It's like it's really written well. The writer is so good. I think it was S.C. Gwynn. Was that his name? He also wrote Rebel Yell, which is another one, which was about Stonewall Jackson, and
Oh,
which I absolutely found absolutely fascinating as well. It's just I just love that. I love those books that sort of can encapsulate a time period and keep it interesting. So like because I'm ADHD, I'm just like, well, yeah, come on, I need the action, bro. Come on,
oh,
let's.
I know. Yeah, actually, yeah, I'm the same way. I have ADHD as well, and only recently was diagnosed and realized, this makes so much sense. But you probably felt this too, though. Like once you're fascinated with something that like you just it's just like this hyper fixation where your brain's on fire about it, and
Yeah.
that's what I feel when I'm a lot of the times when I'm doing research, especially when you have to put together the clues yourself. One example of this is I was actually kind of sick recently with strep throat. Ugh, really no fun, and stuck at home. And I decided that with my time, other than watching really terrible TV, I would read an entire year of the 1901 newspaper from from the town where I work, so I could get some local history info. And it was just so fascinating to read the social columns of the day, because you may not be aware, but like turn of the century newspapers, they basically had Twitter in a way, because there was a column on the side of the newspaper that was basically like, Mrs. Belvedere is visiting the Smith family and had a lovely dinner with them Saturday night, or whatever, or just like opinions on the weather. There was one where I got to actually like sort of follow this story, because over the weeks you'll kind of piece together stories, and there was one story of this big cat roaming around the town, and like, oh, it's killing our dogs, we need to get rid of it, and like just this big drama around the cat. So like, but there's there's little short snippets into people's lives, and so that's been really fascinating too. So I'm just a big nerd is really the story.
Yeah, well, you know what? Nerds make the world go round. Is
Right,
how
that's
I
right.
see it. It's like and it takes all types of people to make the world go round.
Absolutely.
But but
Absolutely.
still, like we're not driving around electric cars and flying into returning rockets and stuff because Elon Musk was watching TV and playing video games all day. He was like
Right.
he was sitting there nerding out. Bill Gates wasn't just sitting there smashing candy and drinking pop all day and like reading comic books all day. It was like nerding out, doing stuff, and these people have made huge impacts on our lives. So I mean, nerds make it happen, baby. Nerds
Heck
make it
yeah.
happen.
Absolutely.
Yeah, let's go nerds. I mean, Twitch. I mean, my God, we wouldn't even have Twitch if it wasn't for nerds. Bill
Give it up
Gates.
for nerds, y'all.
Yeah, Bill Gates money don't jiggle jiggle. It folds. I like to see you wiggle
It
wiggle.
folds. Yeah.
That's for sure. Skittle farts. That's what was it? 6'2", 6'2" in a Fiat. You really gotta see it. Anyways, I'm on TikTok way too much. Is what I'm saying. And so is
Oh
Skittle
man,
farts. I can tell.
haven't gotten on TikTok yet, but I've been thinking about it.
It's
I don't know.
amazing, even though it's a time killer. But it's incredible. I was there's just so much that like this whole thing in Ukraine, which is horrible
Yeah.
and tragic. But I was seeing, almost in real time videos of people, of the war, of images, of just different people interacting with Russian soldiers, Ukrainian soldiers, and you wouldn't see this stuff for like a week after on like, the mainstream news. And so for me, my algorithm is very honed into like current events and lots of gay guys on my which is great. I don't mind. But I mean, obviously it's my algorithm, but still, it's just it's super cool to me. I don't know how to use it very well. My videos do terrible, but I don't care. It's just fun for me. But I do have to watch that time. Because fixating on it, it's like, keep scrolling.
Oh yeah.
I feel like it says social media is turning us all into like ADHDers, like
Yeah, I have tried to be more mindful of the amount of time I spend on and like when it comes to like social media, I don't really have the urge to post a lot, but I like just seeing what people are up to. And I have to like remind myself, oh yeah, people probably want to know that I'm streaming or whatever. But yeah, a lot of it, personally, I feel like it's not your fault because I mean, this is technology that is literally designed for the exact, what we're talking about to get your eyeballs on those ads, So
right.
I hope that there will be some kind of, I don't know what kind of reform, like what kind of reform would look like, but it seems like I think it could be argued that it's unethical to know that we can manipulate people in a way to keep looking at this thing that we know is ultimately unhealthy to a certain degree, when you're overdoing it and stuff. So
no, there was a notification that just popped up on my phone right here, and I had to turn my head to look because I'm programmed to do that. What's interesting about China and is that how they manage their form of TikTok, and TikTok is a Chinese company. By the way, everyone, if you didn't know that, excuse me. But the way they have it, because they do understand how this is a manipulative form of entertainment, I guess. They use it in a way where they show very patriotic videos. It's all science. It's engineering. It's just all super educational. It's nobody doing dances. It's nobody doing trends or whatever is hot for the moment. It's literally they're creating like generations of engineers and doctors and excuse me.
That is fascinating. I didn't realize that was what Chinese TikTok is like.
Yeah, well, and so maybe, I mean, it could be something that we could do for our youth, because it's really interesting that you have a lot of people, a lot of youth. Like my son was in he's homeschooled, but he has to do these weekly meetings with the school district and the teacher, and all the kids are on Zoom, and they're like, what do you want to be when you grow up? And one of the kids was like a YouTuber, and
yeah.
But that's what it is. Like all these kids are seeing these influencers, and they're seeing they're seeing how you can get all these follows and you get all this adoration, and it's like that's what they want to be.
Yeah.
But what do you do with that? What do I don't know how far that's going to go. And unfortunately, the repercussions of this medium is sort of been kind of detrimental, especially to young women, like right now, young women, which I don't mean to bum anybody out, but like young girls are killing themselves at alarming rates right now. And it's, there's sort of this correlation between the start of Facebook, and especially like the like buttons and and being able to share pictures, and to what Instagram is and what TikTok is. There's a correlation between the rise of these platforms and the rise in suicides among, and I'm talking about young women, like teenage girls, younger than that. I mean, teenage, both women and young men, and especially to LGBTQ plus. There's tons of that, but it's very interesting that it is sort of centered around young women, and there's all these like filters on there that are setting these horrible expectations, and it's like it's basically real-time Photoshop. And so it's like what we're doing with social media and what it's doing for us and what other countries are trying to regulate it into. It was very different, and we're sort of setting ourselves up for something. I don't know what it is, but it does seem like we're setting ourselves up for something that we're going to be we're going to be studying in 100 years later and being like, well, remember this time in our history when we sucked?
That was crazy. That was whack.
Or it just keeps getting worse and worse, and then who knows what that becomes. Is there any point?
Let's have a happy interlude. All right, back to the world being terrible. Hello, everyone. Welcome to The World is Awful, and it's never going to get better again.
In your best NPR voice.
Yes, yeah, right. But no, what you're saying is like, it's making me think about how I'm grateful that I had a childhood like that was on the cusp of the internet being like a accessible thing to kids, So, for me, like I grew up being I had more time being bored, and I think that's very valuable for a kid, because when you're bored, you're going to do something that's creative. You're going to seek entertainment that's not so easily accessible at the click of a button or on an iPad or a video game or whatever. And, a lot of my time was spent outdoors. I was fortunate enough to have like a little creek in my backyard and just hang out with nature, read books and stuff. And of course I did like sports and stuff too, like group activities and all that. But I feel like I'm not a parent, and I know you are, but it doesn't feel like there's that enough social cohesion, I guess, to where you can just be like, all right, you're a older kid, I'm just going to let you roam the neighborhood. Like, we don't really have that sense of security anymore, it seems. And I think that's really too bad.
It is.
Yeah, these are the things that I'm just going to be like, this is the old people talk, like I remember when we had a voicemail machine,
Yeah, I remember when I got a busy signal when I used to call people and they were on the phone.
Yeah.
No, I'm same way. I grew up in this little town called Jasper, Michigan, and
nice.
And it had like one gas station, and that was it. That's where everybody got their food.
Town,
yeah. That's where you went. You had to go into Adrian if you wanted to get any kind of sustenance that wasn't just ho-hos and
right.
Velveeta cheese. And
Yeah.
I had that childhood where I got to run around the neighborhood and hang out with older kids. Unfortunately, I was like smoking cigarettes and getting drunk and like rearrange.
Those were the days.
Woo! Make America great again?
Question.
But it's like, but it was something that was really awesome, that where I got to go explore these places. I got to go ride my bike around town. I got to go there was a wooded area where we used to go, and we'd find other older kids back there smoking, or we used to go to this old barn that was falling down and try to break it down from the inside, until my one friend just decided to burn it down, and it's a whole nother story. But it's just like, yeah, there is something lost upon that, because I know for damn sure that I wouldn't let my son run around just all willy-nilly, like we're very protective, and we're not helicopter parents, but like we don't let him stay at people's houses, like any slight chance of anything going wrong, we just avoid it. And that is a shame, but I have experienced, certain kinds of abuse just being at different people's houses. So it's like, I get it, I get why my wife is super protective. I get why I'm super protective, but there is something that is lost of not having that freedom as a child to go play, use your imagination, be bored, be finding different ways to entertain yourself, finding different things to learn. Just, like I'd find turtles down by the creek,
Oh,
like
me
you
too. Yes.
said. I tried to bring them home. My mom's like, absolutely not. Get those disgusting things out of my house. But yeah, there is this sense of play that's sort of gone, and
Yeah, and independence, I think.
independence. There you go.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. I'm sure there are ways to give your child that experience of independence in different ways now, but it really is it's too bad. I mean, I do oral history interviews at the museum where I work as well, and that's one of the things that they talk about is just knowing that like you knew your neighbors, walking down the street, you waved to practically everyone in these kind of small towns, and it's too bad that it's strange to feel like we're more connected than ever with technology, but it's really this huge disconnect from the person that's like 100 yards away in the other house or whatever, and it's too bad.
Well, I gotta say that I feed into it because I don't want to know who my neighbors are. I live in an apartment complex. There's there's at least 50 or 60 people that live in, within 30 feet of me. And I I have no interest in getting to know them. My wife, on the other hand, is very much like, hey, what's going on? And she wants to know because really she's like, who are we surrounded by? And that's,
Yes.
I get that too. I want to read what Aquafunkalistic Booty
me
Wap
too.
was saying. Content creation is a very powerful tool, and we can, and by the way, Libba,
Libba.
God,
If you ever heard the name Libby, it's basically that with an A with a at the end.
I have heard the word Libby. There's this library program that.
Oh yeah, exactly.
It's
So
called
it's
Libby.
Libby with an A at the end.
Thank you. That's going to help because I'm going to reference it.
worries.
Content creation is a powerful tool and can be wielded for both good and evil. We are a species that has evolved to consume information from those with stories to tell. And in the modern age, curation has not caught up with the amount of information to consume.
Oh yeah. That's
Whew.
a really good point.
That's super deep, son. That's super deep.
Yeah. Yeah, I think with like the kind of content we create, I mean that's something that you can do in your own way to kind of shift the tone of social media, and that when it comes down to it, like I guess Twitch is a social media.
Definitely, yeah.
I mean that's one reason that like I'm glad that I can have a place like the Loopy Doopy Lounge to kind of shake off the earth dust and all that stuff down there, and just hang out in this little world and vibe and have fun and be silly, because like it is hard to be. It almost sometimes on earth it almost feels like, oh, I can't be silly, I can't be happy because there's so much bad in my news feed and their social media and everything, when it's good to create those spaces and that kind of content that can kind of shake off those feelings, because we need that as much as we need to focus on how we can be of use in this world and be a force of positivity toward the worst things in the world. Like we all need to take a break and just hang out together and be a community and be a community and find some unity.
Hey,
That's what popped in my head. But that's been really, I mean, that's one of the great things about the Twitch music community, especially, is that it really is this super supportive atmosphere. And like, it's been super, super rare that I've had any kind of like trolls or anything like that, or any kind of weird situation. Like everyone's pretty chill. They're fun. They're willing to, to hang out and be silly and make silly improv songs together and all that. And it's good to provide a space in your own, circle for that kind of feeling, kind of vibe. We need that.
Yeah, for sure. And Robbie, thank you for following LibbaLoops.
Yes, thank you, Robbie.
Yeah,
you got it.
800. Oh, and what I was going to say to you earlier, which I totally just ADHD right past, was that if you see if you want to respond to chat, please do. That's
absolutely.
You're totally. I forgot to tell you at the top, especially if you see any of your community members, feel free to say hi, and you can, hey, you don't have to like finish the thought. You could just do whatever. But I really dig in what Aquafunkalistic Booty Wap was saying. That's just such a fucking awesome name. Listen,
Yeah, right.
but I do feel like I feel that statement what they said was because like I feel like our technology has just sped past us as
Oh
you know,
yeah.
as evolved human beings,
Yes.
and like we're these meat wagons that are trying to catch up to this technology that has surpassed our own capabilities of thought and processing. And so
Yeah.
of course it's going to mess with us. Of course it's going to throw us off. Of course it's going to, like, you know, if it's not used correctly, it's going to create these divisions, create these dissonant vibes, you know, these dissonant wavelengths that we certainly have no, you know, we have an idea of what it is, but like it's sort of on its own path now. You know, it's sort of something that's not, it's not going to slow down, it's not going to stop. And unless we sort of integrate with it, are we ever going to really understand it to the
Right.
fullest? I mean,
Yeah, yeah. Before I continue that thought, thank you so much, Robbie, for being my 800th follower. Oh, that's so fun. Thank you so much, and thanks for checking out the 505 set. Yeah. Um. Ooh, what was that?
that was my stupid air horn, which
Oh, yay! I love it. I love it.
it's so silly. It's so silly.
Yeah.
No, that 505 set, that whole festival, which by the way, can we get a shout out for
Graceful
yes, the Graceful
Bard.
Bard, who is an incredible human being
Yes.
as well.
Such an inspiration.
She is so cool, and I love her streams, and she's been on the show before, and she's just an awesome human being in general.
Oh yeah.
As a kid, a good way to learn lessons and build skills for being a functional adult is to be allowed to make mistakes and experience things, but that goes with being thoughtful and honest about them afterwards with adults and role models. Oh
Yeah.
yeah. Oh yeah. That was one thing that that's one thing I was missing as a kid was I learned these things, made those mistakes, but my parents worked very hard and I respect them and I love them and they did the best they could with what they had and
Hmm.
the information they had available at the time. Uh, but yeah, my role models were dog crap for when I was a little kid, you know, like
Yeah.
I really liked this one kid who just liked to smoke and like make trouble. So like I was like, that's cool. Let's do that. Let's make trouble.
Yeah.
But it was a rebellious nature that was within me too. So
I was a goody two shoes. I
were
was
you?
perfect little angel.
I love
Never
that.
did anything wrong. I think the worst thing I ever did as a kid was stab my brother in the butt with a pin. But it was warranted because he started to take the tags off of my Beanie Babies. And you don't
Oh
take the tags
no.
off. I mean, I didn't collect Beanie Babies because I love them. I collected them because I was going to make so much money off of them. That was my ambition. And I was,
That was your retirement plan.
yeah, right. And now look at me.
Now I'm in the loopy lounge.
Yeah, right. No, I had a really great childhood. I feel very fortunate for that. Both my parents were teachers, which I think has a lot to do with that. So if they could deal with 50 kids, surely they could deal with me and my brother.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah, and especially having a mom that was a drama teacher, always instilling creativity and I never felt like I could fail in front of my mom or dad,
Aw.
So it was very beneficial to me. My mom and dad, they're my cheerleaders, and I think that's where I get a lot of my positive attitude as well, So yeah,
Which is great. I mean, because what's the alternative to be like sad, Eeyore all the time, and always thinking the world is against you, and always thinking that everything sucks, and it's like that's just no way to live. Unfortunately, that's how I lived for a good chunk of my life. But with a little
easy to
therapy,
fall into that. Yeah, yeah. I mean, like,
with a little therapy and a little bit of
yeah.
little medication,
Yes.
and just you could I had to really literally, reteach myself how to not always think in the most worst negative ways, which I still
Yeah.
do that. And I still, and in fact, it is a tool for me in a way to sort of see how things can play out and see what can happen. Right.
Yeah. Prove
But
yourself wrong sometimes, you know?
that as well, and to be able to sort of play things out in the most negative way is a way to sort of avoid these choices, and but not to get lost in those thoughts, because it's very
Yeah.
easy to sort of to get in that loop. You fall into a
Oh, yeah.
pattern, you carve new grooves into your brain that this is how I think now, like, and that's
Mhm.
just destructive. So yeah, it's more of a tool at this point to be sort of pessimistic and, I mean, I could just. I also think it's funny to be just like awful sometimes. I mean, not like to people, but like just in my brain, I'm just like,
Right. You have like a darker sense of
yeah,
humor.
exactly. It can
I
be.
mean, a darker sense of humor can be a valuable thing. I mean, humor is the way that we cope with the things in
Exactly.
our life, and it's really valuable in that way.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And something that you mentioned earlier, I mean, just I too have an interest in meditation. Less so on like in a spiritual way or anything, because I know there's sort of two big groups of like practices, but more so in just understanding those thoughts that can just enter your mind without any invitation.
Yes.
And meditation has really helped me to notice when that happens rather than be consumed by the thought and be the thought, so to speak. So
Right.
you can kind of put some distance between that negative thought that just entered your head, look at it for what it is, something that's out of your control, and you were happy a couple of seconds ago, you were fine, you were content, and
Right.
and then this dumb little thought enters your head without you doing anything because it's your brain.
Yeah.
And then being able to see it disappear in a way. I mean, that's something that meditation really helped me with, and it was and I don't even practice regularly, but just the initial time that I did practice regularly, it seems like one of those things that once it kind of clicks and you can experience that distance between the negative thought and yourself, I guess. It sticks with you, someone that I admire in meditation is Sam Harris. He's a neurologist. He studies the brain.
Yes. And
He's also like a philosopher, and he has a podcast and all this stuff.
Yeah, he's awesome. I love Sam Harris.
Oh, cool. Yeah. I'm a big fan. And then also Joseph Goldstein, who, if you're curious about the more spiritual side, I think that's a good entry level kind of, or an introduction to more like Buddhist, like meditation, which is valuable too, because there's meditations where you can really reflect on love and kindness, and I think that's very valuable to do, even if you believe it's permeating out into the ether or not.
Right.
It's still good to feel gratitude and to feel that connection with other people. So
Yeah.
I see. I'm just reading over the chat. We got a guest on the show. Much love, LibbaLoops. Oh, thank you so much, Willis. Appreciate that, friend.
Yeah, welcome in, buddy. Not too much, just chilling, man. Seeing live thought. Yeah, and I appreciate that. I cut off my own tags on my Beanie Babies. I just like playing with them. I kind of thought that they would never be worth what people thought since everyone had them. My in-laws still have. Yeah, that's funny. You had the fortitude and then the
Yeah.
foresight to be like, these aren't worth anything. Everybody has them.
Yeah, maybe 100 years from now or something, it'll be like a hot new market for
Right.
in like 2090. it'll be all the rage.
Yeah. Well, that idea of letting ideas go, letting them pass through is
Yeah.
that's one thing I've learned from meditation too, and that's why what was so, just like that idea of presence, right? Like that idea of like bringing yourself out of the past or the future, or whatever thought just pops in your brain, like it teaches you to stay out of the bad neighborhoods in your head, right? Like you
Yeah,
just,
that's a good way to put it. Absolutely.
it's not mine. I forgot who said that, but it's someone else's. But
Yeah.
it's like because we'll just keep circling the block, circling the block, circling the block, and before you know it, you're half the day's gone, and you're sad or you're mad or you're just like.
Right.
It took me a really long time, and I had to quit like drugs and alcohol too. But like to get past these irrational thoughts of anger or sadness and some people like myself just have this depressive thing going on where chemical imbalances are just like, bleh, you get to wake up feeling like this now. Hey,
Right,
welcome
yeah.
to the world. This is your
Thought
day.
you were gonna have a good day, did you?
Which I mean, thankfully, because recently I was like it's taken me like a couple years to find medication. Has it? Yeah, maybe a year or two. A year and a half to find the right medication, and finally we were like, I was like, man, is this ADHD? Like, is this what this is? And as soon as I started taking ADHD medication, I was just like, oh, okay, this is the world now.
Right? Yeah, I was the same way. And something that I think like ADHD and depression can definitely go, or anxiety too, can go very much hand in hand, because as people with ADHD, we're going to have those times when we get really excited about an idea, and maybe we put like, a few hours into it and we're super excited, but then is it the dopamine that we have less of? It's like this dopamine spike, and then when it crashes, we don't have the motivation anymore, and then that spirals into this cyclical, well, I never finish anything, I never get anything done, this type of thing. And medication is it can be super helpful. It's super helpful for me, for you, and then just knowing yourself better and not getting down about the way your brain functions, because there's also a lot of benefits to the way that ADHD brains work. Like, we are people who love to think of ideas and solve problems quickly and in creative ways, and we're going to be the ones that love to daydream and brainstorm. So, and when we get really hyper fixated on something, we can get some really great work done, but then. For me at least, it's the case that it's like I have to set like arbitrary deadlines for myself. So, with my boss or whatever, I'll be like, I have to have this to you by next week, or I'm going to be fired. You're going to fire me, or whatever.
I have a job.
It's just, I need that urgency, like, I got to get it done. But, you learn to work with yourself and with the benefits that it comes with, and then the not so great things that you got to just, realize about yourself. And like my house, I have to accept that my house is never, ever going to be clean. And exactly. Unless someone's coming over. When I have guests, it's beautiful. But otherwise, I'm living in a pig pen or something.
But I imagine that it's not like it's not like rotting food and like.
Oh no! Of course, I'm totally exaggerating, but it is. It's
but
very.
It's like clothes over there. There's a pile of random stuff over there that you just piled. That was your version of cleaning that spot up for the moment, and then there's this.
Weeks go by and you just pass the same pile over and over. Something that will take you 5 seconds to do. It takes like 5 months for you to finally do it.
Yes, lived in, not dirty. Thank you, Willis.
Yes, lived in. Yes, exactly.
Lived in here. It's like I mean, for whatever reason, I just can't bring myself to shut the cabinet doors. Like I just can't do it. I don't know.
I know exactly what you're talking about. Yes.
I just can't do it for whatever reason. I'm just like, not today. I gotta go. I got things I gotta do. That's more important than lifting my hand and simply closing a door.
I know. Oh my God, I know. I mean, I'm the kind of person that like before I leave, I know that I need to say that I'm leaving like 15 minutes before I actually need to leave, because I'm going to go to my car, realize I left my phone inside, can't find my phone, go back to my car, realize I want some tea, go make some tea, like
I'm going to need tea before I go.
I just know myself. Yeah.
it took a long time for my wife to figure that out too. Like it
Yeah.
really did. I mean, because she's a very she can be very focused. She gets stuff done. I'm trying to think
Amazing.
of the words that it is. It's like is
Oh,
it
yeah, like a more
type
A
A?
type personality,
Yeah.
like when yeah, that kind of thing. Yeah. Oh,
She's
yes, I kind of feel maybe fortunate that the two partners I live with both have ADHD, so we all understand what's going on. So
yeah.
it's like, yeah, we understand how our brains work, and we can have some patience with each other. So yeah.
Yeah, I think that was the biggest key to our relationship is her understanding my fault, and likewise too, because and I don't want to say faults, but understanding
Yeah.
each other's the way each other's minds work, because it's just like this is just how it works. And I know when she's getting hyper fixated on something, it's like, okay, well, maybe we need to step back, or maybe I just need to let her work, or just whatever the situation is. I'm coming from a place of understanding and not of a place of frustration, because it's like
Yeah.
you have to take a step back and be like, okay, this person's not doing this at you. They are
Right.
doing it because this is who they are, and you love them, and you love them for everything that they do. So it's taken a long time, but I think that's what is beautiful about having a partner in life, and
Absolutely.
and finding someone that can understand you're crazy.
Oh
Like, just
yeah. Oh
you
yeah.
get my crazy, so let's just work together and do this together now.
Exactly. And there was something that you mentioned. Of course, this is a perfect example of I had a thought and now it's gone. Oh, I was gonna say that, I think one really valuable lesson from conversations with my partners, and just like having those moments where like you make an assumption about their behavior, and then you don't give them the benefit of the doubt. Like giving people in general, like even outside of like partnerships and everything and family, like with anyone, like starting with giving someone the benefit of the doubt, and kind of be until you actually know that they intended to, or it's just fairly obvious,
Yeah.
Like I think that's a really important thing that I wish there was more of, especially on social media, just because it's so easy to immediately get angry or
Oh yeah.
immediately assume the worst about someone, and that's especially needed in like close relationships, is just like stopping that thought, that assumption that enters your mind, and just being like, pause, wait a second. Is it really rational to think they left that cabinet open because they just wanted to piss me off? Like, no, probably not, things like
Exactly.
that. Yeah, it's part of being such a wizened, old 30-something-year-old,
Yeah, it's important. It's important, and I think you nailed it. Is like, if only people could take that pause for the cause and
Yeah.
just sit there and be like, okay, this is not it. Or before they send that tweet, that the inflammatory tweet, it's like,
Right.
ah, blah, 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 like before they go off. It's like, let's take a step back. Let's bring ourselves to present. Let's
Yeah.
let's have a moment. Let's think it through. And unfortunately, that's just not where we're at. What are you saying, Robbie? What executive function? Oh God, executive
Oh
function.
yeah.
My terrible. That's not me. Is a set of mental skills that include working memory, flexible thinking, and self-control. We use these skills every day to learn, work, and manage daily lives. Trouble with executive function can make it hard to focus, follow directions, and handle emotions, among other things. My wife doesn't believe in this and thinks I'm lazy. It's a real thing.
Oh, it's a real thing already. Yeah.
Duke, what's up, baby boy? Welcome in, my friend. Good to see you. Glad you could make it here. Yeah, we speak English bad. I do. I do speak English bad. It's not great. But yeah, I love that. I love that you've been able to sort of get a handle on that. Like,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
sort of
It's taken years, I
right,
mean,
right.
it
It's
takes time,
hard
and
work.
yeah, and yeah, especially with like my family and everything. I'm proud of the progress we've made, and it's just having that conversation, whether with your family members or with yourself, about
Yeah.
the tiny steps that you can do. because I think with people with ADHD, we get the motivation to do better, and it's almost like New Year's Eve every day or something. It's like, all right, tomorrow my life is gonna start over and be perfect, but just 1% at a time, is a much more manageable way for
Yes.
to do it, and that's something that's really that I've taken to heart, is just like, what's one little thing I can do today to reach that goal of mine, because it's hard you can't do it overnight.
No, 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 I'm totally with that. Improve 1% every day, and like Leon Brett as a streamer here on Twitch, and one of his videos he put out some like tutorial videos about how to use Twitch, and he's like, improve your stream 1% every stream, and
exactly, totally,
and that
it
applies
can
to
apply
life.
to like anything else, any goals that you have.
And I have to say that like that whole moment where you're just like, and tomorrow it's gonna be. Yesterday was one of those days with sugar. I was like, and tomorrow I'm not gonna eat sugar. And you know what? I haven't eaten that much sugar today. I ate bananas. I ate several
good
bananas.
Kind of sugar, right?
Yeah, it's right. Yeah, I work in a kitchen, and so like it's just my downfall in life. It's just like, because you could just be and they encourage you. They're just like, oh, go ahead, eat it, or they'll be like, try it. Will you just try this? See what does this need? What do you need? What is this? And I'm just like, come on, bro.
Yeah, right.
I just need to like not be eating cake and pies and all these little treats all day, because it's just,
my goodness. Yeah, if you're surrounded by them, how can you not?
It's really difficult. It's really difficult. It's like a crackhead living in a crack house. You're never gonna get out of the crack town if you're in the crack house. Like you literally gotta separate yourself, or have like the will of steel, which I don't.
Like, who has that? I don't even, like, come on.
Yeah, I don't know either.
Robbie says, our friend Willow Keys says to be what is that, 1/100th of a percent, or is that yes, 100th of a percent better every day? I like that too.
Yeah, that works too.
It's something. Yeah.
Yeah, no, any kind of improvement on whatever you're doing in your life is better than no improvement or negative improvement, or I guess that's not improvement.
Right.
You want to be going forward, not backwards, and just whatever it is. If it's just like, like people, because I exercise frequently, even though it doesn't look like I'm just, it's just ridiculous. But I exercise frequently, and it's like just getting in the habit of exercising is just something that is so beneficial to my brain, to my body. And it's like, you don't have to go out and run a marathon on your first day. Like, just take a casual stroll around the block, or take a casual stroll around your yard, or whatever you have.
Yeah.
Just take a casual. It doesn't have to be this crazy thing that you jump into. It can be a very casual thing that you can just sort of ease yourself into. And then once you start feeling the results of it, and you start seeing like, oh, I guess I do feel better. It's motivation. Music, same thing. It's like you have these incremental gains that you when you're really practicing an instrument, and you like hit that thing, whatever you're working on. It's like you're working on a lick, or you're working on a song, and you hit it, and you're just like, ooh, there it is. And that dopamine dump right there is going to motivate you to the next one. And so, and then in between that, it's just like keep on grinding, little at a time. And before you know it, you're somewhere completely different.
I mean, I've kind of experienced that with streaming. Having a stream gives you a reason to make music, and of course it's very fun when other people can join in. But like, it's even my progress, or like my my musicianship progress has been slow going, but it's progress, and I'm super happy that, oh wow, after a year and a half or so of piano lessons, I can make up a little chord progression now. Look at me. And I couldn't do that before. So even if it's slow going, like cross your fingers, you hopefully have a fair amount of time on the planet to to be curious and explore whatever your curiosities are, and meet some goals, but it doesn't have to be overnight. That's for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I couldn't. I mean, if it was overnight, I would just have a panic attack and die. I just curl up in a ball. It's like, you have to do all this change by tomorrow. I'll just be like, I don't know where to start. Okay, I'm going to just go over here and life. That was one of the biggest thing I had to get past, or one of those challenges is like being overwhelmed with decisions and what you got to do to get past this stuff, you know? And learning how to prioritize was one of those huge things that completely changed things for me. And you know, like whenever I feel overwhelmed, I'm just like, okay, hold on. What do I have to get done?
Yes.
What's the first freaking thing that needs to happen?
I love lists.
Lists are
have
great.
So many lists.
My phone notes are just full of them.
Right.
And by the way, that is Dave Matthews with a mask on.
Heck yeah. That's awesome. I see Ziggy in Korea has a question for the guest.
Yeah, let's go, Ziggy. And welcome, Ziggy. It must be an ungodly hour for you, but I appreciate you stropping. I appreciate you stropping through. Would change be considered as an improvement? Waking up 5 minutes earlier to get more done.
I think that's an improvement. I mean, oh my God, I can't, like, waking up 5 minutes earlier would be a huge achievement for me. Like, I am pressing that snooze button every single time. I have so much ambition when I go to bed. I'm like, I'm going to get up early. I'm going to make food and eat it. Like the simplest things. But yes, I would say, Ziggy, that even just waking up 5 minutes earlier, like, I think that's actually a really good example of like that 1% every day. If you're like trying to wake up an hour earlier eventually or whatever to get something done, do it in 5-minute increments, because you know you can do that.
Yeah.
Like, that's not too hard of a bargain to keep up with yourself. And then just 10 minutes the next day and so on.
Absolutely. And it's 6:36 a.m. So I guess I don't feel too bad, Ziggy, that you're up right now, because you have a life to live. You have a thing to do. You have to go risk your life on the Autobahn and on a bicycle while huge buses fly by you. And
whoa.
See, I saw Ziggy ride to work one day on her bike, and it's just like all you see are these huge like semis just flying past her, and she's like on what would be like, you know, the equivalent of like a freeway or an expressway, you know. She's just vroom, vroom, and she's just pedaling away.
Wow.
And I'm just, oh, it's an electric bike?
Nice.
Okay, whatever. Well, I see how it is. Still. That it was to me, that's just nerve-wracking. Although I used to ride my bike all the time around San Diego, and that place is just a nightmare of terrible drivers. It's just a bunch of transient people from all walks of life just flying by you. It's like no one's from there, so it's just like wherever you grew up driving, that's how you drive, and then all of a sudden you adopt this like horrible, like, I'm not letting anybody over, and I'm just gonna cut you off, and it's just, you know, like brake check, and it's terrible over there.
Yeah, I live in Georgia, and we take our time in Georgia.
I love that.
You know, we say, oh, come on now, you can go ahead and whatnot. And then I lived in Connecticut for a few years, and it's a different story. Drivers just everybody just seems mad generally in Connecticut. That was okay, I won't say like everybody, but there did seem to be like some kind of cultural norm where it was like, in order to get to know someone, you would bond over the things you both didn't like. and that was just like total opposite of like Southern kind of culture, I think, or what I grew up with. And that took some getting used to, but it was also a really cool experience to just live outside of the South in the first place, especially where in Connecticut, where there was so much, everything was so much older than, you know, stuff in the South, because you know, it's a lot younger, and everything got burnt up. Civil War.
Oh, you seem to have acquired an accent. Did you ever have an accent?
You know, I've been told that. when I'm around my family, like I'll say like fur instead of for, and like I'm fixing to go somewhere, like the little things like that.
I love that though.
But I think probably growing up in theater and just portraying like a lot of different roles that weren't necessarily Southern, like not having to affect like a Southern accent or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, it just never stuck. But it's weird too because both of my mom has like my mom and dad have both very thick Southern accents, both very different. But me and my brother has a Southern accent. I just didn't get on board. I don't know why.
Just didn't get on that bus, I guess.
I can put it on if I need to.
I love the Southern accent.
They're so charming.
They
Oh my God!
are.
And then when I got to visit my family and I, like my mom and my dad and I went to England, and British people just loved especially my dad's accent because he's like a country boy, so he's got a bit more of a twang to it, and they just thought it was so charming, and it was really fun for him to sort of be like the spectacle in a way. They just wanted to hear him talk,
Yeah. Well, I mean, and Southern cooking, I love Southern
Oh my goodness, I
cooking.
love it.
It's just
I
amazing.
love barbecue. I love anything fried chicken, fried
Please.
fish.
Please. Oh my God. During Lent, where I live is, I'm here in Ohio, northern Ohio, but it's still Ohio. We they celebrate Lent a lot here. I mean,
Okay.
and to the point where they have fish fries every Friday. And it's like we were trying to do like a tour of the fish fries because I was just, whatever it is, I love fried fish, and I
good.
couldn't get enough of it. And it's just like, and it used to be before inflation, it used to be all you can eat. You'd pay like $12, $13, all you can eat fish fry. And oh my God, oh geez, Lord, help me. It's just amazing. I can't get over it. And so every year in Lent, I'm just like, we're going to those fish fries. We're going to do that.
It's interesting how like Southern food has definitely made itself popular in the North too. Like
Oh yeah.
the best Southern food I have ever had and the best fried fish and cornbread I've ever had was in Connecticut.
Oh my gosh, what
And I
happened?
was so surprised by that, but it's definitely something that a lot of people love, and
Well,
a lot
people
of
migrate, right? Like they bring their
Yeah,
culture
absolutely.
with them.
Oh yeah, totally, yeah.
There's this place in Southern California, Los Angeles. I think they have one in San Diego now. I can't remember, but it's called Roscoe's, and it's dope. I mean, it's Roscoe's Chicken and Waffles.
Oh, that sounds so good.
Yeah, and they're pretty dope. They're pretty dope. Like so these cultures go around and get around and stuff. Like Mexican food. Like
Yeah.
although there's not a lot of good Mexican food here in Ohio, where I'm Northwest Ohio, where I'm at, and there's some places they can throw down.
Yeah.
But I used to live in San Diego, and like
Oh, man.
that, geez Louise, the taco shops down there. I dream about these carne asada fries. I do. I have dreams about eating carne asada fries, and it's just like I'm sad every time I wake up. It's just ridiculous. Oh God, I miss it. I miss it a lot. I miss Southern California, but I don't want to be in California now because that sounds awful. But still.
Yeah.
Still, what were you doing in Connecticut? You're just up there
Oh
hanging
yeah,
out?
yeah. So graduated college, and sort of like, what am I gonna do? And I got a job at a startup company, which, like, long story short, went the way of many startup companies in that it was run by just an absolute narcissist, and but it was very like it was all in an effort to. I don't want to say too much, but it had a good mission behind it, and that was what drew me to it. And being right out of college, and my partner and I were up for an adventure, and it was really valuable even to go through the hard parts of being a part of that startup, and just that there was a ton of challenges and everything, but I learned a lot because I had to, and through that I ended up working, and once I left the startup company, which I was very happy to do, I ended up working at a children's literacy program up there in Connecticut, and that was just wonderful. I loved it, and I was so happy to have had that experience. It was offering free tutoring to children who were struggling in school, and once we were ready to move back south, back to Georgia, that's where I'm from. I ended up getting the job at this museum, which I absolutely love. I've just so thankful for it. But I also got to start a children's reading program here with the consultation of the one that I had been at, and it's been very successful. We had our first full year of like on-site programming, and we've we've provided free one-on-one tutoring through volunteer tutors, many of who are former educators or current educators. And it's just been a great experience. It's one of those things that was very serendipitous in my life, that like something that could have just been, whoa, that was a weird time in my life. Glad to be back home from that. Like I could bring something back, and yeah, I was really happy to have that happen. So it was all worth it in the end. And even through the tougher times and challenges, like you grow through that, and I'm proud of my younger self, that I got through it. I learned a lot, and I came back with an appreciation for the South. I think it's a good experience to be away from home,
Yes.
to really come back and appreciate it more. And now, I like the idea of having roots in Georgia and
Yeah.
at home, and I want to be a part of the culture here, and that's really important to me. So it's good to get out, spread your wings, see, experience a different culture. And it was really cool to be able to just like hop on a train and go to New York City sometimes,
Yeah.
on a weekend or something. So I got to experience New York City and Boston too. And so it was challenging, but ultimately really beneficial. So yeah, but that's what took me to Connecticut, and now I'm back home in Georgia when
Yeah.
I'm not in the Loopy Doopy Lounge.
Good November. Thank you so much for that follow and welcome
I
in.
know. Good November. Hey, good November.
Hey, good November. Welcome in. Thank you for being here. No, I think that's a great bit of advice for anybody who's like, especially for anybody who's like sort of struggling on what they want to do with their life, or what, if like, because it is kind of cruel that we sort of usher kids. Yeah, East Coast hype. Yeah, I love the East Coast too.
Yeah.
The East Coast is so awesome. Like that's what's so cool about the Northeast, or yeah, I guess that whole region is like, if you're in one place, you're within like, hour or two from like the coolest cities in
Right.
New
Yeah.
England,
Yeah.
Uh, yeah, yeah. DC is cool. I wish the traffic didn't suck so much, but
Yeah.
whatever.
I haven't been to DC. I'd like to. I really want to go sometime.
Oh, it's awesome.
Being a history nerd,
Oh yeah, for sure. There's so much
Yes.
history there,
All the
and
museums.
the museums are incredible.
Yes.
The museums are so cool. But the idea of that we sort of, put this stress on kids straight out of high school going to college
Yeah.
and stuff, which there's nothing wrong with it, obviously, but there's just like there's a lot of people in this world who go into these careers, go to college at a young age, and they get sort of pushed into it,
Mhm.
and they're just miserable with their life choices, or they can't find a job with what
Right.
they decide to get it,
Yeah.
and so I feel like if you feel like you're stuck and you're a young person and you don't know and you're unsure about what you want to do, and I would say move to a place away from your town, wherever you grew up, move a good amount of distance away from it, and try just living a little bit before you, because that, for me, I was so sure I wanted to be a musician, and then I moved to San Diego, and then I was like, oh, I want to really get into sociology and really want to help, and I really want to get on, like just try to, make the world a better place. And then at the end of the day, I was like, no, I'm a musician. But still,
Yeah.
I had to go and figure that out myself, like I had to go and figure that out. And I don't know if I would have stayed home, I would have just probably just been an alcoholic for the rest of my life or something. You know what I mean? Like, just it wasn't. Like I could tell we lived very different lives growing up, but
Yeah.
but still, there's that idea of feeling stuck and feeling
Yeah.
like you don't, like you need to get out of there and go and find something else, get away from your parents for a little bit. Not that they're terrible people or anything, but you have to figure some stuff out on your own, and I
Yeah.
feel like moving away is just one of the biggest and best things I've ever done.
Hmm.
And I ended up coming back to where I live eventually. And I still have my problems with it. I always looked at coming back to Ohio as failure in life, but I lived an amazing. I had a great time in San Diego. Like what a cool place to become a man.
Yeah.
But or at least become an adult. I guess
Right. Exactly.
I
Yeah.
moved out there when I was 23,
Oh wow.
and
Yeah.
then moved back when I was like 4 years ago. So like it was a great 13 years of just really living hard, living fast, and living loose.
Yeah.
But I also found my wife, and I also had a child, and then she was like, let's leave this paradise that you love so much." And I'm like, "No, God, no." But again, with the last 2 years, I'm actually really happy to at least be back with my family,
That's awesome.
because
Yeah.
when I came back, like my family was in need of more hands and more
Yeah.
life, not
Yeah.
life, more help and stuff. Like I had some sickness and illness in the family, and so I'm very happy and proud that I was able to be back here to help in that manner. And of course, the
Yeah.
pandemic, I'm so glad I had my family close to me during
Mm.
that whole mess. So
Oh yeah. Yeah.
I
Same
mean,
here.
you seem like you've gotten along with your family a lot, and you've had a great relationship with them. And me too. I've always had a good relationship with my family. It just was when you came back, you said you had an appreciation for what you left behind. And what do you think that you learned the most from sort of leaving and coming back? What was something
Yeah.
that really sticks out to you?
Yeah, I guess going somewhere where you don't know anyone at all. Like had zero people that I knew in Connecticut other than like, my like people I was working with, and like the team was great, but had a lot of challenges with the with the CEO or whatever. But to be somewhere where you don't have that sense of community and that sense of belonging, because even in the like, it's not like I went to a different country and didn't understand, had culture shock or anything, but
Right.
there was a part of it that was like, there's a lot of things that because y'all like the people around me had lived in Connecticut, and they shared this like cultural understanding, and like even things as little as like the sports ball teams and stuff that like I didn't know, and just like the way that people interact with each other, like I was saying, and that all kind of has an effect on you. And I think that it can be good, because like you were saying, if you're going somewhere where you're seeking change or you're seeking something that's a new experience, it doesn't necessarily like the most beneficial things can be those challenging times when you're on your own. What are you going to do to make the best of this? How are you going to meet people? And kind of like it was kind of weird to go from like graduating college, and where you kind of have this community already given to you from your classes, from your dorm rooms, all that stuff,
Yeah.
people that you've known from high school and stuff. And then to seek community elsewhere, that was a big challenge. But it took time, and I'm so glad that I was able to make really good friendships up there. But coming back home and kind of feeling the sense of belonging again, and the sense of appreciation for like, oh yeah, just the littlest things, that even if it's just like having good Southern food again, or just hearing the accents again, or just the little pleasantries of life in the South. I mean, I know not everybody, we're not the only ones that are gonna hold a door open for you when you're passing by, but that's like these things are like kind of ingrained in Southern culture, and it's something that I was like, this is something to really appreciate. And I, I, I I think most of all, though, was that sense of community and just coming back home to people I knew and that I grew up with. So these were older relationships, and understanding the importance of that, having that depth and that timeline with a friend that you've known since you were little, that kind of thing, and just seeing your family again. So I definitely came back feeling like it feels good to be home, and this
Yeah.
is home. Like moving elsewhere, like yourself, you may not think of San Diego as home necessarily, even though you lived there for a while. But coming back and having that place, that is home, it felt good to appreciate that. Whereas before I was like, I was ready to just experience something different, and I was kind of feeling a little jaded about the South, and thinking like something better was out there or something, and to come back and appreciate it made me feel like I was more mature, a little bit wiser, and had more gratitude, and that's a very, very important thing to have. I've come to realize,
For sure. For sure.
Yeah.
Gratitude is so important. And just being thankful, and whether you believe in God, or, you're thanking God or thanking the universe or whatever it is, just being like, thank you for whatever I got, because, there's a lot of people, again, who seem to hate this place that we live in, this shared community we call America. And it's so divided right now. And I don't know if people just aren't aware, or if they just choose not to be aware, but there are places on Earth that are truly, truly a nightmare situation for people. And to be able to just move to Connecticut after college, and go to San Diego, or go almost drown surfing drunk, like, hey, whatever it is, these life experiences that we get to have. Like we we get to have these experiences. These are things that we get to have, because there's so much out there, that there's so much suffering in the world. There's so many places on Earth that are just, people don't get to just go and do things. They literally have to walk miles to get water that may or may not kill them. It's just like, it's such a strange thing. And living so close to the border in Tijuana, like, we'd go over there frequently and mostly to score drugs, but still, you make friends and stuff, and you go in these neighborhoods where it's literally like shanty towns with shacks, just piled on, metal on top of metal, just like rusted, and the rivers are polluted. Like, no, like, it's like, it's children being forced to go sell gum, and that's like the that's the best thing that they're selling in that moment, because it gets a lot worse than that, what they have to sell down there. And like, it, just seeing that, and seeing extreme poverty, seeing extreme just devastation, and extreme corruption within the government itself, and it's very eye-opening. And I don't know a very, there's a lot of awesome places on Earth, but again, there's a lot of terrible places, and we got very lucky to be able to be born in a place that allows us to do these things. Not to say that there's not poor and suffering here, which there is, which is terrible as well. But the ability to sort of be able to, get out of these situations is very, very unique. And I don't know. I know America has its moments, and right now, geez Louise, come on. But
I've kind, studying history, like we were saying before, it really offers you a much better much clearer perspective on how much goes into the things that that we should be grateful for. I mean, how much just take the civil rights movement, for instance, like, how much work that was into really, I think it's important to acknowledge the progress that we've made, but of course to not say that that's good enough, like,
for sure.
Going, but I think we should think about progress with gratitude for what's happened before us. I mean, even like, there's, when it comes to like Thomas Jefferson, for instance, obviously a controversial figure for a lot of people.
Yes.
But this is also someone who, like, for us modern people to place judgment on a different time and a different set of, like, just understanding of the world in general, it is possible to be both grateful for something like the Enlightenment or the Declaration of Independence or these ideals that, while in its time for sure it wasn't living up to, and perhaps people would argue that we're not living up to the full potential of, the Constitution and the Declaration of Independence, but to acknowledge the progress that has been made in a relatively short amount of time when we zoom out and think about how long humans have been around,
Right.
I think that change with like that gratitude rather than a sense of vengeance or some kind of just seeing things so flatly or just so black and white. It's so much more complex, and our human history deserves so much more reflection than let's not hear anything this guy has to say because I'm going to deem him as a racist or whatever, or a misogynist or
Yeah.
or any of those things. It's very easy to judge when we have modern eyes, but studying history gives you a totally different appreciation and understanding, and I would say fascination for these things. I think we should be fascinated in the past because it's gonna kind of chart that path for the future for sure, as we think about what challenges do we want to overcome in our time, and how can we learn from people of the past who were overcoming their own challenges. That's been a huge part of why I'm so grateful to have a job where I get to study the past and study history. So read your history books, find one thing you're interested in, just dive into it, because the history is just it's not boring. It's not boring at all.
Yeah.
It's important.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. I absolutely agree. And the fact that we want to sort of erase this history or focus in on just the terrible parts of it is just I don't know. We are very ungrateful people. We've become, and I'm just talking about Americans in general here.
Right,
Just we've become very ungrateful, and again, I know there's a lot to be angry about in this country. I know there's I acknowledge that for sure, but again, there's a lot to be grateful for as well. Morby, what's going on? Good to see you, my friend. Welcome in. We're kind of wrapping up here. Do you wanna play something for us?
I can play some music.
You wanna
Yeah.
do something for us?
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. So how about I'll play some originals, and then
Ooh.
maybe we could conclude with an improv based on the chat. So
Sure.
just to sort of explain how I usually do things at the Loopy Doopy Lounge. So you see above here, you can use the command loop to suggest a word or a phrase. Today we'll just take it from the chat and see what we get. But what I will need from the chat are random numbers 1 through 700, and what that's going to, or any number that you like, 1 through 700. And that's going to determine what instruments, because there's 700 different, instruments on this keyboard, and that's going to determine what we make together. So I'll do a few originals, and then we can conclude with a little improv loopy doopy.
Sounds great. That sounds great. All right, I'm gonna turn it over to you, LibbaLoops.
And it might be, Mike, it might be best for you to mute.
Yes.
Just in case I loop some of your audio or something.
Nope, I'm gonna mute right now. It's
right,
all
sweet,
on you right now.
All right, awesome. So this first one, this one's my favorite loop, and this was, again, most of these, if not all of these, were inspired by the chat at the Loopy Doopy Lounge, and based on the phrases and the instruments that we chose. So, and I have a little music video, a do-it-yourself music video of this on my little tiny baby YouTube channel. So I just started really putting anything on YouTube at all. So if you check out YouTube, you can see the music video that my partner and I made during the pandemic. All right, so this one's called Thanks. what I'm doing. Thanks, but I know what I'm doing. Thanks, but I know what I'm doing. I know what I'm doing. Thank you. I know what I'm doing. I don't need your help, but thanks, 'cause I know what I'm doing. I know. I'm familiar, yes. Thank you very much, but I already know what I'm doing. Thanks a lot. No, I don't need your help. No, I don't need your help. I know what I'm doing. I know what I'm doing. Thanks a lot. I don't need any assistance. I'm very familiar with the subject matter at hand. Thank you for wanting to help me, 'cause you thought that I did not know how to do it, and you do. I get that. But I can do it myself. I'm alright. Thanks. Thank you. I know what I'm doing. Thanks, but I know what I'm doing. Thanks, but I know what I'm doing. Thanks, but I know what I'm doing. Pew, pew. Hope y'all enjoyed that.
Nah, I love that song.
Wonderful.
When we first started, I was like that. Yeah, I like your vibe because it reminds me of Steven Universe, and
Yes.
and you're like, that's a compliment, and so like it was nice, like, because my son, like, he loves Steven Universe, and I didn't know what Steven Universe was until my son loves it. So but the music is so rad, the show is so cool. I love the show, I love the music, and that
totally.
and that vibe is totally it just, that's where it hits for me. But I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. Well, I'm going to turn it back over to
No problem at
LibbaLoops.
all. Yeah. So this next one, I also just love to do improv, as far as like not even use words, just scatting and kind of giving a nice little futuristic vibe to it. So next we're going to do, and of course everyone is welcome to join in on the next one. So this one is called Doop Doopy Doop. And, this one's number one on several exoplanets. So I think it's going to be coming your way soon. All right, so let's get ready for Doop Doopy Doop. Here we go.
Doop doopy doo. 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 Doop
Yeah.
Oh, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you very much.
Awesome. Awesome.
Sweet. So at this point, do you think it's a good time to maybe conclude with our an improv or?
Let's go.
Okay, sweet, sweet. So chat. Hope you enjoyed that, by the way, and
was
of course,
amazing.
I invite you all to join me at the Loopy Doopy Lounge. Please follow on Twitch, and you can find me on Instagram as well. But usually I'm going to be streaming Thursday evenings Eastern time. So Thursdays around 7 p.m. has been pretty good for me. And I've also got a Discord as well. So hope you head on over to the channel.
Yeah.
And before we conclude too, just Mike, thank you so much for having me on, and everybody who's been listening and watching, and any future listeners and watchers. It's been really a blast to just hang out and have these big conversations, big and small, you know?
Yeah, I absolutely had a wonderful time. I really do appreciate you coming on and just sharing your truths and stuff. So thank you
Thanks,
so
yeah.
much. It
Yeah,
was
thanks
amazing.
for creating the space to do that. Yeah, for
You know,
sure.
we got to do it somewhere. Darn it.
Yeah, exactly. Now I'm looking at the chat. So if you want, I've got some numbers. We got 26, 47, 470, 420. Random number. And let's see. So we're going to start with 26 and we'll go down the list. But if you want to go ahead and throw in the chat any number 1 through 700, then and if we need any other numbers, of course, Mike, you can just throw some numbers in as well.
Sure.
But why don't we go ahead? Let me find a beat of some sort. Let's see. Doodle-doo-doo-doo. Let's see what we got here. Okay, that sounds fun. Let's start with this one. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to create loops together. So we're going to start with 26 from Willis, 1990. Chose 26. And 26 is the bright organ. So first we're going to start with the bright organ. Let me get this drum beat going up a little bit more. There we go. And of course, we can put all sorts of fun effects on this too. So let's see what we got. Let's see what it sounds like. I like that. Oh, we gotta do it. Hold on, here we go. There we go. All right. Sweet, sweet, sweet. So now we're gonna do 47 for the Duke 47. Nice, nice. All right, we got a 12-string guitar. 12-string guitar. I'm gonna put a delay on it. Let's see how that goes. Oh yeah, oh yeah. All right, all right. Next we got 470 for the Duke. Slow treble strings. Let's see what this sounds like. Yeah, now for Willis, 1990. Let's do 420. I get this one a lot. It's guitar feedback. It's going to be subtle, but we'll hear it. Maybe if I put a slicer on it or something, that'll be fun. That's fun. That's fun. All right. I'm going to see what other numbers we've got in the chat now. Let's see. All right. Scrolling down. Okay, next we got 89 for We Speak English Good. Ooh, choir. Just choir. That's all it says. Excellent, excellent. All right, good November. Oh, sorry. The Duke has 13. Tiny EP, tiny electric piano, little itty bitty. Magical. All right, next we got Good November with 451. Orbiter. I haven't come across this one. Let's see what it sounds like. I like that. That's fun. That's fun. All right, let's see if we got anything. We got a pretty full sound at this point. I don't want to leave anybody out. Okay, we got 666 and 621. All right, 666 for Willis. Ring pad. Nice. All right, we got 621 for Hat Mouse. Halo pad. add some vocals. So as a thank you, I say we go with We Speak English Good. That's all you need to know. And, if you're gonna speak English good, then them's the phrases. Y'all, thank you so much for hanging out today. And thank you so much, Mike, again, for having me on. This was so much fun. And I hope y'all will come to the Loopy Doopy Lounge to do some improv with us. It's always a fun time and a fun little community. And I'm excited for it to grow. And thank you so much again. Yeah.
Oh my God, it was my pleasure. That was incredible, by the way. Thank you so much for that. That was so fun. Like, I just the whole time was like, in the toilet is right next to me. Yeah. Literally, the bathroom is like right here next to me, right here. So,
I was thinking about French class. I'm like, what's the first thing that I learned? It was like, hi, how are you? And oh yeah, where's the bathroom?
¿Dónde está biblioteca?
Exactly.
I think I said, where's the library? I don't know.
Yeah, right? Yeah.
Where is-
Also important,
Yeah.
especially based on today's conversation, get yourself to the biblioteca
Yes.
and read on your histoire or whatever it is.
Yes, indeed. Please do. Everyone, please. I'm gonna drop the link again in the chat. Please go and follow, and go and follow her on Instagram and all the YouTubes and stuff. And jump in her Discord. Go show up at her streams. Go do that stuff. Libba, thank you so much. This was incredible conversation. I feel refreshed and energized from just chatting with you and that improv. I absolutely loved it, and I admire your talent and your intellect, and you speak English good. You do.
Oh,
You do.
thanks. You speak English good too.
Thanks so much. I appreciate that. I do. All right, everybody, give a round of applause to LibbaLoops, everybody. Thank you so much. I'll see you later, friend. Have a good rest of your evening.
Rush.